Next, we're going to hear from another activist long-standing who's works with the Living Wage Coalition now and has been active in many vis-a-vis the homeless and power and the movement involving the poor of the city. So please welcome Larry Lattimore.
Yeah, I would love to thank the League for inviting me. I've been with Power for 5 years. I've learned many things in our political education classes. In fact,
Oh, excuse me, Larry, you mentioned, I didn't mention either, power.
Power is people organized to win employment rights. We started to work around to challenge welfare reform, and we had a lot of victories. And I would wake up in the morning. I used to camp out half a block from here, Market Street. I'd wake up in the morning, get my gear together, and I'd oftentimes go to actions or maybe go challenge the mayor downtown, be rubbing elbows with people who are making decisions in this place. And I agree with Matt, I think he's still here, that it's exhausting trying to play defense all the time. Well, I got real good at it. I learned very well, and some of the people here actually voted me to be co-chairman of the Living Wage Coalition. They know that I'm hungry for justice for all, and I'll stand and fight until we win. So I'm hungry for that type of thing, and I see how it develops. And I would probably want to talk about how the government sending millions of dollars to fight a war that we all know is unjust can affect a homeless person in San Francisco. A lot of people can't connect the dots, but it's some of the same things that goes on all over this country. We were making great strides. We got homeless people who were cleaning buses, bus passes. They couldn't even catch the bus at one time. The buses would pass them on their way to the garage. They had to walk there to clean it. So we got good at it. I mean, we could make people understand how vicious and how sarcastic the system is when the very people that they depend on to make it nice for them to sit in can't even ride. So we got that. That's very simple. When you get to the context that workers are valuable people and the city chooses to send a welfare recipient out on the job, and first of all, he's mistreated. The first thing is his salary, the money that he receives for his work, is most of the time 1/5 of what it is the city would actually have to pay should it hire somebody. And that's not even counting the benefits. That's not counting the days off. That's not counting vacations. It's not counting the health care benefits. So you can see that the city was saving $14 to $15 million a year. And that happened over 15 years. And when they told me that the city had $100 million surplus about 2 years ago, I guess it is now, that wasn't a surplus. That was our blood and sweat. So Sarah told me I only had 10 million. And you know, like, I knew that it'd be kind of hard to fit this in here, but if it's quality, then the quantity won't make so much difference. But in some ways, I think that I was still challenged to see if I could get David's wish. I think that I would wish for it in a way in which I can share it with other people. And then I think that we can't do nothing less than try to achieve the type of, well, I'll say San Francisco because that's my universe for right now. But I know for certain that Matt's working in the right direction when he wants to raise the minimum wage, because we know that it's been said that it takes $22 an hour for a 40-hour week to pay all your bills, buy all your food, and not having any subsidized housing or food stamps or whatever it is. Well, people are living in this city and they're evidently not making $22 an hour. So evidently they must be working 60 to 80 hours a week. And one of the things I want you to realize is that if you increase the wages, you most undoubtedly reduce the hours that you have to work. The benefits from that is that you basically created another job. That 40 hours that you were putting in extra trying to make it is a job for somebody else. And if that job is a living wage job, then you've all come up. And I also address things for child care. If you're not working 80 hours a week, then you can take care of your children. They will not be part of that cycle where they have to get out and do this type of thing. So they want to tell me that one of the reasons why they can't do something for the people who live here in San Francisco is because if we make it so good, then we'll draw people. It'll be a magnet. Well, you cannot deny the people who you're sucking blood from because you're afraid that you're going to create a magnet. If you create a good enough system, then I can't see why any other city would want to adopt it. And that's where I'm at right now. I told you that I'm homeless, and if I don't become a better fundraiser, I'm going to remain homeless. But if there's anything that anyone here that thinks that they might be able to do, be willing to contribute to the living wage cause, I'll leave my number with Sarah, and she can be able to let you contact me at any point. But this thing is real, and I think this is one way to attack it. And I'd like to be able to thank you for your support.
Next we're going to hear from a poet who's also a painter, and in most genres is always engaged in the social and political struggles of the world, and has put together work that really touches on the whole theme of poverty, racism, and war. So please welcome Magneta Fall.
Two, because I didn't know which one to read. First one is called Heart Muscle. The bombs fall, and God is great, and God is great. Oh God, God damn it, I'm sick of your name being dragged through this circus. By that cowboy from Texas, by that mustache from Iraq. When we win, he says, doesn't he know that war rips the world into an open wound that begins to fester at birth? And the pangs of that birth will forever remain in the torn muscle of the heart, its essence, its limits defined in spurts of blood. Cuts deeper. I saw a house torn out of a big hungry eye in flight at the foot of fear. So many faces at the edge of their lives scream mutedly inside of wars, famines, droughts, of being raped over and over, of greed and men settling scores. This lava of pain buries us deeper each day. this tide of hate, thick with sludge seeping under the door. Who falls over a kiss, gets up and falls again. How a gentle touch on an elbow cuts deeper than a sword.
All right.
Beautiful acting. Next we're going to hear from a young poet of the city who has been very active in some of the publishing that's been going on in North Beach. He's worked with Calliope Press and is really quite an extraordinary creative inventor. So please welcome Alma Garland.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you, Sarah, for asking me to read. This is a little weak. I have a weak one.
Little loud.
But I hope everything comes out all right. Human. We do not tell anyone we are afraid of the cities, factories, and the machinery in our flesh. We are as obsolete as yesterday. Cruelty never leaves our secret fears. The fires are beginning somewhere inside reality. There is no room for us. The pressure of blows to the skull, random and growing. The secret police of our own tongues and feeling and thoughtscapes is something inside of us that wants help. Tears us apart and asks us whether we want to sell ourselves yet. There are voices trying to penetrate our houses, our separations. No one is listening to us. Every day I am waiting. I watch the faces. I am waiting for the building to fall apart. I am on my knees, pulling on the bars of a cage becomes a concrete tunnel in a dream. No one wants to enter it. We all became afraid of ourselves, of doing something, of moving. Our hands had led us here to this factory, the masters of our minds. We have eaten through this place. We are nailed here, and by our ignorance. The faces of secretive old men enter our living houses because we have led them. We are interrogated by the missionary cancers, converted to blood instead of water, to dead instead of living, to sweat and gas, oil instead of sex and living, and bread and earth. Our eyes become hollow and blind, the Beatitudes are forgotten. Our mouth becomes money converted to blood instead of water. We are in the war. We are caught beneath this. A concrete tunnel in a dream. No one wants to enter it. Building of the feeling of a nightmare. Weight of a skull crushing. A promise of napalm, something in the bone and the blood flesh. There is nothing to give us but death weight. A network of steel drills and incineration somewhere, flaying a body that is human and afraid, twisted under other bodies, under the thirst for money, powers, under the weight of concrete. Somebody has said history repeats itself. We enter the tunnel again. We butcher our brothers and sisters. We tell us we do not exist. The things I see are nothing but the void ahead. I wake up in the middle of the night to hear myself die. We do not tell anyone we are afraid of the cities. We, the stupidest of all the living things. We think we are going somewhere. We import the void into all our rooms, all our children eating death. We are on all fours like dogs in the shit we eat. There is no turning allowed. We will kill you. The lines of human faces are long, being led deeper into the center of the factory. The decision is stop breathing and listen to the sirens. The faces of secret old men looking in. Thank
you. Next we're going to hear from also a well-known activist worked in a whole different ranges of the poor people's movement. He also happens to be a poet, but I think he's going to speak a little bit tonight. Maybe throw in a poem too if he wants. And he's also got some CD that he's done with some other poets in town, and also a book that he's edited on the table and back. Please welcome James Tracy.
I always feel very at home at the New Revolutionaries for a New American events because they're not only open to poetry, such as Jack mentioned, they're practically all poets. And when you have a revolutionary organization that's all full of poets, you can bridge ideological differences, tactical differences, because it's a way of speaking to the heart, speaking to the heart of what's going on, which is that we want an entirely brand new world out of the struggles that we're waging here, big and small. That's what we have in common in this room, I hope. And through poetry, through words, through our actions, most importantly through our actions, we can bridge any of these little teensy-weensy isms and schisms and things like that. That's how I feel tonight, even though we're in probably some of the darkest times that we've been in, at least in my lifetime. But let's also keep in mind that this is a 500-year thing on this continent. So political poets are part of the axis of hope, and that's what I'm here to talk about. We have the axis of evil, and you can add in many, many different points on the axis of evil: poverty, war, racism, Bush, Rumsfeld, Clinton.
It's like 1,000.
Because what Matt brought is 1,000 points of flight. Is basically what it is. And what Matt brought out is that we can't depend on Democrats to bail us out. I mean, that much is apparent. I mean, some of my best friends are Democrats, okay? I hope to make them ex-Democrats one day. A few of my friends are Republicans, and I sure as hell hope that they become ex-Republicans one day. But we can't depend on the liberal wing of one of the ruling parties to be part of the axis of hope. Maybe many of those individuals may join that axis of hope one day, but we can't depend on them. The axis of hopes are movements. They're not politicians and they're not parties, but they're movements of people that take many different shapes. Whether it's power, people organize winning employment rights, giving Gavin Newsom just a little piece of the hell that he deserves.
Yeah.
Or whether it's the landless people's movements in Brazil.
Right.
Millions of people strong. Takeovers almost every day of the week. That's maybe a slight exaggeration. And providing part of the base community with other movements in that region that have won some electoral games that are pretty important. Most notably the election of Lula, President da Silva. Now, that's the true axis of hope. In Argentina, where we have the unemployed workers movements, the piqueteros, the neighborhood assemblies basically governing the place. That's part of the axis of hope. The massive social base, no matter what you think of the actual president of Venezuela, the massive social base in Venezuela, that's part of the axis of hope. And every single last one of you, when you hit the streets here, in any way, shape, or form, become part of the axis of hope. When you do things in your neighborhood that challenge the powers that be, you become part of the axis of hope. And it's important to think about the groups big and small, like I said, as the core of this axis, not the face, because at the best, those are just the electoral expressions of a movement. I was very honored back in January. I received a free ticket to go to Brazil for the World Social Forum. It was like it fell out of the sky. And all of a sudden I was in Brazil. The World Social Forum got started about 3 years ago. Some of you guys may know about it. In a nutshell, a bunch of people said, hey, maybe our side needs to come together and plot and conspire share stories, victories, setbacks, not just chasing the World Trade Organization all around the globe, which is a good thing. I think you should, definitely wherever they are.
And to provide jobs, and I think we should look to that because that is what is sorely lacking at the federal, state, and local level. So we formed we formed the People's Budget in 1997 when it was a time of economic boom for the very wealthy and for the economy in general, as it's measured, and there was a surplus. And we knew that that surplus and that boom did not trickle down to our constituents.
Right.
And our motto that first year was economic boom for whom?
Right.
And we said there are people who are not being served in this city, and some of those services have to go to those people. And we were told by people in the city hall, well, we have to save that surplus for a rainy day. And we said for our people, it's already pouring. In fact, we barged into a meeting up there and opened up our umbrellas and said it's pouring for our people.
Right.
Okay? So for the first 2 years, we were operating in a period of surplus. And all of our combined proposals still even came in under the surplus.
Right.
We got some of those programs funded, but what really came together for us is that our principles were permanent solutions to poverty, long-term planning. Everybody knows that an ounce of prevention saves money in the long run.
Oh, yeah.
And that part of budget analysis is revenue, and how do we increase revenue? Okay, and then things evolved and the dot-com bust happened, right? And then the economy started to weaken, and then there wasn't a surplus. And then, 2 years ago, remember that filthy 52 and the corporate bandits, 52 of them said, well, we paid too much taxes and we want some of it back, right? And this city, again, the people here in the city hall gave away $100 million to the richest corporations in the world. Less money for the people who are sleeping out on the streets. So even though we're not in the time of economic boom, and again for our people, they have never experienced the economic boom. Even though officially the economic boom is over and we're facing a budget deficit and a wartime economy, guess what? There's still a lot of money in San Francisco. You want to know where the money is? There's 10 San Francisco billionaires identified by San Francisco Business Times. This is just last January. That was after the bust. That was after the beginnings of these wars. And the Bechtel family alone, for example, $7 billion. The Fisher family that owns the Gap, $2.6 billion. Those two corporations were among those who said, we want taxes back, and they got it. So again, we are now seen as an alternative to the budget that this city passes. This city does not pass a budget that addresses the needs of the disenfranchised. And the people's budget is now seen as an institutional annual reminder that the people who are forgotten cannot be forgotten. It is obscene that this is still one of the richest countries in the world, and we are talking about throwing people out of SF General, closing down health clinics, our schools are falling apart, and we are not beginning to address the real problems, and the city has the resources, and our elected officials are obligated to provide them. Thank you.
In closing, the People's Budget Collaborative believes that when there is the political will, it is realistic to meet the needs of San Francisco's poor, even in times of economic hardship. This year's budget must reflect that political will, and we will not stop demanding that until it happens. For members of the press, please feel free to ask individuals questions. We have representatives from various organizations. My name, I didn't mention it, my name is Renee Saucedo. I'm the director of the San Francisco Day Labor Program. We have other people here who are representing various agencies who work with poor and homeless people, so feel free to ask them questions, unless you want to ask questions in general to the group right now.
General question about a couple of the revenue sources proposed in here. The Board of Supervisors yesterday approved contracts for half of the city's unions, including the managers union that represents most of the employees making more than $900 or $90,000 a year. Yeah, so that's, it seems like that's off the table. Only one supervisor voted against that. That's $120 million. And then the treasurer's office has stated that they're unable to even hold the line on current property value assessments, let alone reassess for higher values. There's a $15 million line item. Examiner.
I think we should probably listen.
It's more of a general statement is that how the budget process works. We can put out these suggestions and we can get them to people who will listen to them. They're really smart suggestions on where we should be looking to cut money as opposed to cutting poor people's programs. And whether or not the mayor and the board of supervisors are going to listen to those suggestions, that's why we're here, is to push for those to happen. Now, it still makes a lot of sense whether they're going to do it or not. We have a huge revenue that we can be looking at in terms of salaries that are way out of balance with other salaries in San Francisco, and we should be looking at that as a way to cut and make savings so that we're not cutting poor people's programs. $120 million versus $67 million in cuts that are going to close programs. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
In about 1 hour from now, 50 people will be leaving from this building to go to Sacramento to see that the cuts will not happen on seniors and people with disability and other cuts that will hurt the poor and destitute. Thank you very much. This is Bruce Housen, CBS, Living Wage News. This is the bus up to Sacramento where we're going to meet with the different delegates. Most of these people are average citizens or representing groups that are to help fight the cut on the budget.
The 90s recession, one of the worst problems that they know of in the history of budgeting in the city and county of San Francisco. There have been some scary cuts proposed, many of them in the health department. Our friends over in the school district also have been talking about some pretty scary cuts. This is obviously connected to the budget woes in Sacramento and the cuts and or realignment proposals that have been talked about in Sacramento. It's related to the problems there, but it's in addition to the problems there. So when the budget is being balanced in Sacramento, or debt is being issued as the proposal yesterday, to balance the budget in Sacramento, keep in mind that's over and above the problems that we face in San Francisco. The $330 million budget problem that we have in our general funds, it comes from many different places. It comes from declining revenue in the city and county. Obviously, our sales tax, which we're heavily dependent on, is way down. Our hotel tax is way down. That's hurting our budget a great deal. We also, when we talk about $330 million, we have been expecting about $100 million in Sacramento's problems to be imposed on us. That's the number we've been working with. We're hoping that we can get that number down. And certainly one thing that's being discussed that was included in the governor's budget released yesterday, but we don't believe that the actual trigger has been pulled yet, is this thing called the vehicle.
Cities get over $250 million from the state's general fund, and that's it. And then the state, however, gets our property tax. They're getting a lot of money that they never gotten before. And so we've got to try to reclaim that money. And if indeed we are going to share the pain in this budget crisis, then we've got to ask for something back. We've got to say, we will share the pain, but you cannot take this, or this. And I think it's about time, and so that's what we're going to be talking about on the steps today. And that's why I'm so glad that you're here, and I want you to tell everybody where you're from. In fact, we need badges to say, we're from San Francisco, so that everybody knows that we are there trying to share the pain and the pain and the burden of all of this. So again, the shift has been taking place over the years. They've shifted money from the state and the burden of it to the city. So that's what we need to talk about as well. When you're talking to people, we need to talk to Mark Leno about thinking about that burden when he's making decisions. What is he doing, and how is it going to affect us at home? So just be aware, and thank you again so much for taking out your time in your life to come and do this. It's extremely important. Thank you.
For the Living Wage TV show. There we go. Can I sign up with you guys for the Republicans?
Yes, I love that. I live in that kind of school.
Number of people they were talking about. So 200 people.
That's why I be in this block.
That's right. That's what's happening. You know what?
In my backpack? I can make some. You want me to bring some water?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think it's such a good idea. But,
Living Wage camera.
I know, was it
Everybody. I'm John Russo. I'm the president of the League of California Cities, and I'm the city attorney of Oakland, California. Before I start, a quick announcement for our friends in the Fifth Estate, the press. We will not have question and answers immediately following in a broad way following this press conference, but there will be individual question and answer opportunities available with the different people who will be speaking here at the podium immediately following the close of the podium remarks. With that, I'd like to thank the hundreds of supporters, nearly 1,000 of you in all, who made the trip here to Sacramento for Local's Legislative Action Days. Take a look at the crowd. Just a couple of years ago, Legislative Action Days was about 100 people. This is a sign of the power that is growing in the local movement, so give yourselves some recognition. This broad and diverse crowd here today is representative of the many faces of the local coalition, from public safety and health officials, local elected officials, city, county, special district representatives, business community leaders, organized labor, senior representatives, and many, many more, have made local a strong voice in the debate over the state budget battle and the need to protect local services. We recognize we're not blind, we don't have our heads in the sand. We recognize that in these difficult budgetary times, legislators have extraordinarily tough choices to make, just as all of us at counties, special districts, and cities have extraordinarily difficult and heartbreaking decisions to make. But extraordinary times demand extraordinary measures, and our coalition believes strongly that any path to long-term fiscal health for the state of California must include structural reforms that above all protect local services and ensure that we never find ourselves in this position again. Is at stake in this budget and in the coming months, and how we need your help. So with that, I'd like to introduce my colleague, the president of CSAC, Tim Smith.
Thank you, John, very much, and good morning to all of you. And I must say, I've never felt safer in all my life. I gotta say, first of all, as a member of the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors and the president of our California State Association of Counties, it is just heartwarming to see the response that we've had, as John said so accurately. Without the strength and momentum, I can promise you this May revise that we're ready to look at very, very closely sure looks a hell of a lot better than it did in January. And everybody here and the people back home ought to slap themselves in the back and be very proud of that, because it's a significant difference. We hope as the local coalition that the legislature and the governor remember just 4 simple words during their deliberations. They are prioritize, protect, predictability, and proportionality. Very simple words with some little definitions I'd like to give you. First of all, priorities. Local services are a priority for California residents. Our people in this state are not stupid. They understand the importance of the people up here, the people that are providing services, health and human service, police and fire protection, the people who are in the streets rubbing elbows with the people they represent. They're not going to undermine our ability to make those services available. Know that they're going to have the health and human services they require when they need them. Proportionality, lest we not forget, the state of California in 1992-93 and over time has walked away with $40 billion of local government money. That money is gone forever. It has now reached the $5 billion per year hit on local governments. We cannot allow that to happen, and John is absolutely right. At the end of the day, we're going to make sure we're never in this situation again. As I said, we
locally treatment programs, closure of centers that serve homeless people in the midst of the homeless debate that's happening in San Francisco, gutting of community mental health programs that we've been concerned about for years. We're trying to do our part locally on fees and looking to cut the waste in government that as much as possible to minimize the pain in California. Helps us out locally, and so however you hold the line and pick up 6 of your Republican colleagues, we love all of your efforts, and you have a lot of support to do that, and to at least back up Davis and some of the proposals that can help cities and counties like the lessening of the realignment, like some of the revenue generators. We have support for San Francisco for that.
Just a couple of things. I know Rob was involved in this earlier. When I chair the Finance Committee, I yell and scream about increasing that reserve. When I chair the Finance Committee, we increase that reserve to the largest possible in the history of the city of San Francisco. Because I knew back then that we were not going to continue to see the kinds of revenue streams and so on. To a large extent, I never imagined that the downturn in the economy would last that long. When Chris and I were colleagues on the Board of Supervisors, we used a good part of that reserve to bail out downturn has lasted this long, don't have those kinds of reserves. So I think in good times, it's extremely important to have a good, healthy reserve. I understand that the president, former president of the board, is looking at trying to get a rainy day reserve. I think that's healthy fiscal policy and so on. The other thing that I should mention about this budget, that I've said to people that I'm not going to support this budget if in fact it is going to put mental health care on the block, chopping block. Unfortunately, what has happened is that we have a situation in which the governor wanted to realign a lot of services down to the local level. I've already taken a position of not supporting the alignment whatsoever because we have had that devastating effect in San Francisco. When Chris and I were on the board, we took a hard stand on responsibilities off the chopping block, bringing it back into the state. The only ones that he left out there hanging was mental health services. And I said that I cannot somehow support this budget if you are going to put mental health at risk. Because one thing that I heard a long time ago is that when you fight, you have to fight together.
That's right.
If you allow people to piece you apart and pick you apart, that some are more blessed than others, then we're going to lose.
You're going to lose.
And so I've taken the position, and I've told the leadership, and we're going to fight this to the end. That we are not going to allow mental health, those individuals who provide those services, be left hanging out there. We're taking care of some other folks. We can't just simply leave those folks out there.
Right.
So that's my commitment to you.
That's right.
Democrats, and we're going to drop off the flyer, we're going to drop off the resolution, and we're going to say to folks, support the governor's budget. To the Democrats, we're going to say hold firm, right? And to the Republicans, we're going to say
support.
Right, exactly. So we have 2 packets, and in each one, there's also a purple flyer that we're going to pass out. I'm sorry.
You go ahead. I'll just put the end.
Okay.
Just use the razor.
That we're going to leave in each office. We'll leave the resolution in each office, and we'll leave the purple flyer in each office. There's 2 packets, and so what I need is somebody to volunteer to lead one of the groups. Is there anybody, I don't know, maybe John, you've done this before, right? Sure. You'd be willing? So what we're going to do is we got a little wrap. We come in and we say, hi, we're with SEIU from San Francisco. We also have community-based members from San Francisco. And on these sheets, it says the assembly person and outside the door, too, if you want to look. Do you have 2 minutes to speak with us about our issues? And typically what we do is we say, is the assembly or the senator in? And they usually say, no, they're on the floor.
Right.
So then we say,
Can we speak to the assistant?
can we speak to their chief legislative director? And if that person's there, then typically we say, can we speak to your labor person?
Yeah.
Now what you're going to find is in the Democrats' offices, they do have a labor person. In the Republicans' offices, they don't.
They don't.
No.
So, and in my experience, most of the Republicans, you just basically leave the information, hope that they do the right thing, and move on.
Do we know anything about these Republicans we're going to see? Is there any? And we do feel like there's been a lot of progress made. If I can trust the Chronicle, it sounds like the May release is going to be basically sort of a dollar for dollar proposition as far as cuts being balanced by revenue increases. Does that sound right to you? Or it's the San Francisco Chronicle, so I can't.
I honestly, that sounds right. I read the same thing, but I'm not sure because I haven't read the May revise myself yet.
Because we visited you guys before, I'm sure, and that was one of the points we tried to bring across was to take a balanced approach. And we would still, really push for that as the philosophical way to, just take care of the people who need to be taken care of. So hopefully that's true. And so the key thing that we would like to say is just, we know that there's going to be a lot of opposition from the minority Republicans who, are absolutely drawing their line in the sand. And it's going to be incumbent upon the Democrats to really hang tough because, when the 11th hour shows up and there's still no agreement, we really need the Democrats to hang tough.
Right.
So
okay,
that's sort of basic message, but if anybody else got 2 cents. get a couple minutes with Senator Vincent, just real quick. Okay. Is his chief legislative person here?
director.
Yeah. Any chance we could talk to him, just like 2-3 minutes?
2 minutes. Thank you.
Urge the senator to hang tough with the proposal as it is currently. There are even some issues with the realignment for mental health services that we would like to see changed if we can at the last minute, but I know that's going to be tough. But we also know that, you know, there are going to be other legislators who are going to be raising a lot of hell about taxes and, you know, threatening to hold the process up. And we just want to tell you guys to. We're trying to. We're trying to.
Yeah, because that's so important.
I know. We need 6 Democrats from the Assembly, and we need 2 senators.
Okay.
So on the Republican side to come on
Yes,
over.
we do. Yes, we do.
And so you got to be tough at the end when it really comes to crunch time, and you know, people are screaming that they're going to hold the budget up. You guys got to be tough and you know, keep the services that we're just
absolutely.
you know, that are
we
just
have to
hanging
have
on by a thread now.
Well, you know, you have Senator Vincent's support. You really do.
And we'll support you when you need
it. And she's working on any number of bills. She was saying that she feels that the legislature is kind of looking again at the governor's revise, and that they heard people loud and clear, and that's why there was a difference, and that members of the legislature were really pounding him a lot. She said that there's a couple of Republicans, and we have their names, that we need to talk to, that they feel are looking pretty good, that are moderate. One is in Salinas, and does anybody remember the...
Denham and McPherson in Santa Cruz.
Right, and those are the ones that seem that they may be able to be swayed one way or another. She said there was a couple of Democrats in the Senate that were kind of shaky, but they're hoping that they're going to stay firm. And if anybody has those numbers, those names, and yeah, that we should kind of call them and make sure that they stay on course. She has a couple of bills. One that she feels could bring like $750 million into the state coffers, and that was dealing with S corporations, which is, you know, small corporations, and she's looking at anybody under $20 million would fall under her bill, and so they would have to pay or not be subject. They have to pay. Right now they're at 1.4%, and the other regular corporations are paying 8%, and then they would have to do the same thing, and so that would be the difference. If there's anything else anybody remembers that she said that you think is significant that I've not mentioned, mental health. Of course, she said that it was $8 billion that we were going to see as having to realign, and now it's 1.4. So she feels that that's kind of better.
And they're adding 300 people to the Medi-Cal fraud. She estimated they're going to try to audit the actual system, but she estimated between $8 and $10 billion of fraud out of $27 billion.
Wow.
She made a clarification that it wasn't the beneficiaries of that were causing the fraud, but the providers themselves.
Ah.
So if in fact that you save that money, it could then go to services for.
Yes, yeah.
Real easy for them to
Good.
add services.
So
that
mental
they-
health is still on the realignment track.
Well, yes, but she mentioned that foster care more so was the big one. That looks like foster care is being cut more so than the other parts of it. And of course, Medicare is a problem with reimbursements. Yeah, because property taxes, you know, is pretty steady, and then it goes up. It usually does not go down, so.
And she's supporting a bill, Daryl Steinberg's bill to do tax swap between sales tax and property tax. And actually, that's interesting. A lot of the people standing up on the platform that are opposed to it. So I'm not sure.
Well, they're looking at some amendments, and I will be letting you know, as the League of Cities, they're working on some amendments and to it. And so as it is, they don't care for it because they think it's doing, I think it's because basically, I don't think they trust the legislators who are doing it. And they feel that there's more to it. So, you know, that's always the beginning of something, and so they're working on that.
I had a question for Robert. Are there plans to continue the lobbying process?
Yeah, in
to
fact,
make sure that the Democrats don't,
SCIU is going to have 3 big lobby days up here, the 16th and 17th and 18th of June, which is, of course, when they're supposed to have a budget. The idea.
So he was on very good behavior.
Was he very good today?
After introductions, he did say, "What are we doing here?"
I think she was asking you if you were cussing.
No, I wasn't cussing. He said, "What are we doing here?" And I was like, "In this room?" And he goes, "Yeah. What are we doing? What are you doing here?"
Yes. Did you tell him?
Yeah, we told him, and he said okay. He talked about the budget for a little bit. And then I asked him, the highlight for me was I asked him which Republicans perhaps could a group of San Franciscans go and help out, and he said don't waste your time. But he is apparently working on one Republican on the Senate side. He didn't say who that was. You got 2 names? Yeah, you did better than we did.
She thought they were 2 that could be
He knows one. He thinks he thinks the Assembly is going to have an easier time of it than they are on the Senate side. But it was actually a very productive meeting. He talked. He was what?
Gracious.
He was.
Gracious.
Yeah, he was.
I would never use that word.
Some people don't
At the end, he did give us a preview of a new bus shelter campaign where it says, "I gave money to a homeless woman and she fed her kids." Apparently, are signs that he's putting up in San Francisco. And the state government just paid for it. He talked about the gap in the VLF, but said that the governor and the controller are still pointing fingers at each other a little bit, but we're closer than we were.
I pulled the trigger 5 minutes ago. But welcome. This is the committee room where I chair the Public Safety Committee. So in past months, you'll find me here on Tuesdays. They usually take the whole day. The Public Safety Committee is the bill heaviest of all the policy committees. There are about 29 standing policy committees. We get 1 out of 7 bills. And they're mostly bad Republican bills that need to be killed in this room. So I get to be the slayer. Don Prada used to say that public safety was the graveyard for bad Republican bills. What we don't kill here needs to get killed in appropriations. But thanks for coming. It's especially exciting for me to have you all here because I have a bit of business I want to conduct with you. And it was completely fortuitous that you're here and assembled, so I didn't have to go to the trouble to get you all here and assembled. I wanted to talk to you, actually I could go on for a long time about all sorts of things, but I wanted to talk to you specifically today about a bill that I have that I would like to respectfully ask for your serious consideration and hopefully that you can support it. It's our AB 1690, and it would authorize cities and counties to consider for themselves placing on the ballot so voters could decide whether to impose upon themselves a local income tax. It would be based on a percentage of that which one pays in state income tax. Keep in mind that those who earn less than $40,000 a year pay no state income tax, so would be exempt from this local income tax. But if, for example, one paid $1,000 a year in state income tax, and if the tax were set at 2%, you'd pay an extra $20 a year. If it were set at 5%, an extra $50. 10%, which is the max for city and counties combined, which is what San Francisco could do, extra $100 a year. And it's interestingly constructed on a number of levels. 100% of the new dollars would be completely discretionary. And because of that, it would have a simple majority threshold rather than a 2/3 majority threshold. That's a good thing. At the same time, it was brought to me by the California Professional Firefighters, and then we think we improved it a little bit. it has a public safety component to it. And that is that an equivalency of half the new money, not the new money itself, but equivalency of half of the new money would be taken from existing property tax and would be distributed 40% to firefighting, 40% to police, and 20% to sheriff. Now, the idea was that with the VLF being so threatened, and that which really sustains public safety at the local level, for so many cities, small cities throughout the state, really about all they provide in terms of services is fire, police, and libraries. Counties take care of all the rest of the services. So that was the original concept. The local body, the city council, or in our case the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco, could do whatever they wanted with that new money. They could, and in many cases around the state, I would suspect, if this actually got passed, both here and then at the ballot, would probably backfill about 50% of that new money and make whole the property tax so everything came out even, so that public safety would probably come out even. In some cities or counties where there's a greater need for investment in fire, police, and sheriff, their baseline would probably get bumped up some. But again, that's all left for local decision making, which is where I think it belongs. But the big point here, which I don't want you to overlook, and why you as people concerned with social service provision, is that we're making the pie larger. We want to make the amount of money available for all the needs in San Francisco larger. So these dollars could go for sustaining our school system, could go for saving trauma clinics, our general hospital, could go for senior services, for child care, for all the many, many endless needs that we have at the local level. These dollars could be used. Now there's a political, shifting from the policy to the politics, there's a political wisdom in working with the public safety component, and I'll tell you why. I think it's an uncommon opportunity for us who are concerned about social welfare and social health and social well-being to be able to partner with public safety. And when we put those forces together, I think it's unbeatable. I think it's a very powerful combination.
And Mark, you should know that when you're talking, John Hanley is
I want to recognize that John Hanley is here, the president of the San Francisco Firefighters, my dear and good friend who's been so wonderfully supportive over the years. I think you get the idea. Politically, that is a powerful and uncommon coalition. You don't see that come together very often. And so I'm not telling you this is a slam dunk. I'm going to have to twist arms here to get this passed. It's presently, it made it through the policy committee, made it through local government, and there's not much opposition, formal opposition, though the California Chamber of Commerce has come out against it. The Oakland Tribune wrote a very severely negative editorial about it. Of course, the Orange County Register also editorialized against it. So there's going to be opposition. And though I did reach out to a couple Republican members to see if I could get a Republican co-author, that did not happen. Just anything with the word tax in it, of course, they won't get near. But with that said, it's presently in appropriations. It's on suspense. Anything that has any potential impact of $150,000 or more goes to the suspense file. The chair of appropriations, who's a good friend of mine and who's also a co-author, clearly supports it, and it will come off suspense because it will not have more than $150,000 impact. But
So some of these have little things about them. You got to call, you got to respond, you got to repeat things. So the beginning, some of the chanters are gonna try to give direction to folks, so we sound good, we sound strong, we sound united as we're taking the street, right? So everybody got one?
Yes.
So let's go to the fourth chant. And this is sort of a little song.
So which one?
Ain't you see?
DHS, can't you see?
What your lies have done to me.
What your lies have done to me.
Set aside priorities.
Set aside priorities.
It's all the same to me.
It's all the same to me.
Whoa.
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 DHS, can't you see?
DHS, can't you see?
What your lies have done to me.
What your lies have done to me.
Set aside priorities.
Set aside priorities.
It's all the same to me.
It's all the same to me.
Whoa.
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 Shelter bed and 59.
Shelter bed and 59.
That's not care, that's a crime.
That's not care, that's a crime.
Shelter bed and 59.
Shelter bed and 59.
That's not care.
That's a crime. That's a crime. Shelter bed and 59. That's not care, that's a crime.
This is the shelter. Hey, you.
DHS, can't you see? DHS, can't you see? What your lives have done to me? What your lives have done to me? Set aside priorities. Set aside priorities. It's all the same to me. It's all the same to me. DHS, can't you see? DHS, can't you see? What your lives have done to me? What your lives have done to me? Set aside priorities. It's all the same to me. 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 Shelter bed at 59. That's not care. That's a crime. Shelter bed at 59. That's not care. That's a crime. Shelter bed at 59. That's not care. That's a crime. Shelter bed at 59. That's not care. That's a crime. That's not care. That's a crime. Shelter bed at 59. Shelter bed at 59. That's not care. That's a crime. That's not care. That's a crime. DHS, can't you see? DHS, can't you see? What your lives have done to me? What your lives have done to me? Set aside priorities. Set aside priorities. It's all the same to me. It's all the same to me. DHS, can't you see? DHS, can't you see? What your lives have done to me? What your lives have done to me? Set aside priorities. Set aside priorities. It's all the same to me. It's all the same to me.
Bonehead.
Set aside priorities. It's all the same to me. It's all the same to me.
Yeah.
DHS, can't you see?
So this lady called the police on me. Whenever I'm working, I have cards with. She threatened to fire employees from the business. She went around to the businesses and said it's illegal for them to work on this block. And I haven't stayed at this shop for 6 years. And she's been doing this for the last 3 years. But you had a conversation with her just now? No, I just talked to her customer. Engineering company across the street. Okay, Lindsay Coleman, her assistant, Quadzina. What's your eyes about? Satisfied priorities. It's all the same to me.
Oh, we can get you a sign.
Shelter beds at 59. That's not care, that's a crime. That's not care, that's a crime. Shelter bed at 59. That's not care, that's a crime. That's not care, that's a crime. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh, sorry. Hey, I naturally gravitate towards the beer.
Over here. We're demanding shelter for all today. We're here at Next Door. Why are we here at Next Door today? It's a Thursday, 5 o'clock. We could all be doing something else, right? We could all be at our jobs, getting a little something to eat, right? But there's a little something that happened a couple months ago, right? There was something put on the ballot called Care Not Cash. Everybody remember that? Remember that, right? It was put on by this guy named Gavin Newsom, who's now running for mayor. Coincidentally, right? Coincidentally, he chooses homelessness as his issue, but that's all right. So this initiative passed in November, and we were hearing in November that, look, people are misusing their checks, people are deteriorating in front of our faces, and I am just bleeding. My heart is bleeding. And I feel like I've got to do something about it as a supervisor in this city. That's what Gavin Newsom was saying. And he says, so I'm proposing to cut people's checks. I want to help you, so I'm going to cut your check. And I'm going to give you housing and services. And they dug deep in their pockets, because this initiative was well funded by the tourist industry in this city. They dug deep in their pockets and spent $1 million to pass these laws in this city. But we're here now. Now we're seeing the true meaning behind the care. We see that the masquerading as care was really criminal. It was a criminal attempt to steal people's money, because GA money is people's money. People work for that money. That's our money, and this is our city.
Damn right.
So now that DHS, under the directorship of Trent Rohr, they've got this plan, right? They've got the plan. They're the ones who are going to lead us up and help people get up off their feet. But we see that it's the same crock of shit. The crane cup of shit that happened before, because even before profit, GA was unacceptable. CalWorks was unacceptable. The services for poor people in the city were unacceptable. This is a kick. This is kicking people while we're down. Amidst unemployment, all of these budget cuts, now people are going to have to live on $60 a month. That's completely unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Damn right.
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
But a key part of this plan is these shelters. And that's why we're here at Next Door today, because the shelters are a big part of what DHS has in plans for poor people in this city. People are going to get their checks cut in July and going to be forced into these shelters that are already full. That's going to present a whole lot of problems to people in the community, and that's why we're here today. We want people to know that the care is not there. It's a bunch of lies, and we demand housing. We demand the services that we deserve, with or without profit. We deserve these things. So we got a couple speakers today to talk about that issue and talk about some of the different people that are going to be affected by this, and to make our demands very clear, right? So the first person that's going to come today, we got the honor of having some poets today coming and joining us. And first off, we have A. Faye from the Poets. So give her a hand, y'all.
All right.
consider me uneducated, but I can discern the difference between the truth and a lie, or as you call it, fudging a bit, bending a little, twisting it. A handshake in the Wild Wild West was a binding contract, or you could get your head blown off. But now, in the 2000s, a signed contract, a legal document with a poor homeless client is worthless. Promise me everything and give me nothing. Give with one hand, smiley grin, then take back with somebody else's hand. Pop in, my friend, no, no, no. Help the homeless? No. Help cripple the homeless and throw them out in, not off the street. GA recipients are only a fraction of San Francisco homeless population. Trust is what the citizens of the United States should have for its government, city, state, and federal. For the people, by the people, not to the people. In God we trust is what the dollar bill says. So we have $59 bills, and this we trust for housing, health, and welfare. Thank you.
That's right, exactly how Avery is telling us. They're telling you that hoping you were wondering when you turn around because you can't ask, right? So second we have here today, we're going to talk about the shelters and what specifically is happening in these shelters. He is Joanne Sanders from Power, People Organized to Win Employment Rights. Let's get right at it.
Should try to get people interested, like John's all the way down there.
My name is Joanne, and I'm representing Power, People Organized to Win Employment Rights. One of the things that's going to be happening with the DHS implementing Care Not Cash, people who are presently in the shelters will be kicked out of the shelters. It makes room for the people who are in the GA programs like CAP, PACE, and other programs. What is happening is people who are disabled, people who are immigrants, and people who are working poor, and seniors. I'm a member there. Will be asked to, well, won't be asked, but will be obliged to be removed from the shelters, and the GA people, CAP and PACE, will be moved in. In the meantime, there's no other housing for these people. We don't like that. We don't like that at all. What Power is demanding is that there be no expulsions and no excluding of people who are homeless. Everybody deserves a home.
That's right.
Damn right.
Yeah.
One of the other things that we are demanding is the shelter needs to remain open for all homeless people. The shelters are supposedly there for the homeless. Where is the care in that? When the shelters are closed down to the homeless, the very people that it's supposedly set up to help. It's not helping. Another thing that Power is demanding is that all CA people must have direct access to quality housing, not a place that you have to share with the rats, the roaches, and the other vermin that are always present. That's right.
That's right.
That's right. So I would just like to say that your care, not cash, is very bad for the poor people in this city. The poor people who work daily. I myself work at Glide to earn my $397 per month. Believe me, it doesn't cover very much. It's a good thing I don't have any vices because I would not be granted any pleasure from them. I need much more care that PACE is offering, much more training and much more money for the work that I do. And I say that for myself and other people who are getting these nickels and dimes for their workforce program.
So we're seeing that people's lives are going to be affected by destruction in the community, less and less opportunity for people, right? So we're here next door specifically because as John was talking about the shelter, the place that the shelter plays in DHS's plan is a lot of people stand to be displaced, evicted, right? There's 2,700 people under cap who are homeless. There are 1,500 shelter beds. I'm not a mathematician, but I don't see how you're going to fit 2,700 people into 1,500 shelter beds, especially when those shelters are full every night. I agree. So, Sister was saying back there that we need shelters for families. We need shelters for families. In fact, I would do one better. We need housing for families. We need housing for everybody who needs it. So, next door, who sees themselves as a model facility, a care facility here in the city, was a couple weeks ago going around and enforcing, asking voluntarily, right, for residents to sign a contract that they would be leaving, regardless of what their bed stay was, they would be leaving June 30th. Coincidentally, the cuts for Proposition N are happening July 1st.
Imagine that.
So what do y'all think about that? Trent Rohr and DHS have been saying that people aren't going to get evicted, people aren't going to get displaced. That's lies, right? So we're here to tell Next Door. Next Door is in a difficult position because they receive city funding and they're basically being forced to do this. They're being forced to close their doors to people who need it. So we're here to tell Next Door, there's a chant, the bottom of the page here. We're going to do this little chant before we go on to the next speaker. So we're saying, repeat it. I'm going to go through it and y'all repeat it, right? I'm going to do it once and then we sing it together. Is that all good? That's good. All right. Next door, take a stand. Keep your doors open, refuse transplant. Next door, take a stand. Keep your doors open, refuse transplant. Next door, take a stand. Refuse transplant. Next door, take a stand. Keep your doors open, refuse transplant. Next door. Keep your doors open, refuse transplant. All right, so next up we have a person from Hogares Sin Barreras, Housing Not Borders, an immigrant rights group, does organizing amongst the homeless Latino population here in the city. Immigrants are one of the prime groups that are going to get scapegoated and attacked because of this initiative. People who don't have access to any other services stand to be affected also, and Juan's going to speak on that for us.
Hi, it's hard when we come to this country and they say we came here to live this American nightmare that we live in today. It's very interesting how they look and say, hey, we're going to put a ban on the floor and charge you $300 for this. Hey, don't worry, you got the Dolores shelters for you. You know, they have 100 beds out there. And it's been a long time that we know about 20 or 25% of the people staying in the shelters are immigrants, have no papers, get no cab, get nothing. Doesn't matter, you still get the Dolores shelters. Well, the last thing they're saying now is that out of their 100 beds they give their 25% are going to be set aside for people. So that means we're getting 25 less. And then they say, don't worry, if you're going to put your fingerprint here, we're not fingerprinting nobody, don't worry about that. You're just going to put your finger here. Yeah, we say that. We do believe everything the American government tells us. We keep believing that. You know, don't worry, we're just going to take you down there to the NS and just talk to you friendly. We just want to talk to you. We're not going to keep you in jail for the next year or 2 years or whatever it takes until we decide that you're going to be going out. So every time we talk and go out and see all the immigrants out there saying, hey, we're not going to go to the shelters anymore. We're just going to stay out. We're going to sleep on the streets. So here, Gavin Nilsson, what he wanted is to get more people on the streets. He's getting it. He's getting his goal. He's getting more people under the bridges of the city, more people sleeping out, and fine. With the money they're taking out, they're going to be paying for more homeless funerals, I guess. They like that idea that way. So all that we're looking at and say, well, no, we're used to that. We used to get the short end of the stick in this country. And it's not going to change anything, but we're still saying the same. We're still going to fight this. We're not going to put our fingers in your damn machines. And we definitely don't want to have any discriminatory laws like that. Every time you're putting time aside, there's quotas, reverse quotas, ways that we don't get what we used to get. 25% of the Dolores shelters, all the beds in the other shelters. That means immigrants are not going to have access to any other shelter in the city. And they say that, but we went yesterday at the south of MC South, and what they had there, 50 immigrants there. We went to the Episcopal the day before, there were 45 in there. All those people just kicked out. They're just knowing now, as soon as your time here runs out, you're not getting back in. They're telling that now. You know, the people, they know what's going to happen, and we're going to fight this back. We're not going to let this happen again. We know what it is. And since we have no rights to be here anyway, we have nothing to lose, so we don't care. Thanks.
Thank you, Juan. There was our speaker that just went, and then the next speaker. They're ill in two different meetings. They're ill speakers right there. They're good speakers, and they're also feeling sick. So I want to give them props for coming through today and speaking on this issue for us. So Juan was talking about the effects that it's going to have on the immigrant community here in the city. A lot of people are struggling to survive. We're trying to find work on the daily, and they're going to be cut off. The door's going to be shut in their faces. Right, so this is going to have debilitating effects on everybody. I'm going to go through a chant here in Spanish, but I'm going to go easy on y'all. All right? So this is a chant I hope everybody knows. I want everybody to join along. I want everybody to sing it loud, because there's a lot of people here who can't be here out of fear, out of not being able to stand up. A lot of people who are staying in these shelters, a lot of people are being affected. So follow me along. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. 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 The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. That's right. All right. So next up, and that's what we're doing exactly here, is uniting. A lot of different groups are here today, coming together, different communities coming together to take a stand. Next up, we've got MC from Caduceus, Caduceus is a mental health organization. MC is going to be talking about how this is going to be affecting folks with mental health issues. Give him a hand. Did I tell y'all he was feeling ill today? You gotta give him an extra hand.
All right.
Hey everyone, my name's MC, and I'm here representing Caduceus Outreach Services. We work with folks here from the GL and the Mission, living with psychiatric illnesses and other disabilities, and living on the streets. So that's a lot to deal with. And the kind of care that folks are getting from Trent and these kind of cronies, it's no kind of care at all, that's for sure. Abuse. That's right, it's abuse. And a lot of people living with mental illnesses, they have the reputation of being crazy. But just to be clear, and I know y'all know this, the real crazies are people like Trent up in DHS making money off of people suffering. Trying to throw people out of shelters like this and charging people $300 for a shelter bed. How are you going to make money off of people like that? These are poverty pimps, hardcore. We're not going to take it. Does anybody know how many people are living on the streets right now here in SF?
15,000.
Too many. 1,400 people. Already, if you try and get into a shelter, you got to do a lottery. So you got to participate in a lottery to get a shelter bed. That is no kind of pride. That's what I'm talking about. 40% of people in the jails right now in this state are living with mental health issues. Now, it's not because criminals are crazy, other than criminals like Trent, but it's because it is easier to get mental health services in the jails than in the community. That is crazy.
That's right.
That's crazy. So what we're dealing with here, we all know this, is the war here on the floor. Here in San Francisco, here on our streets. And the good news is that we're going to resist and we're going to fight. Am I right?
Right.
This place Newsom.
That's right.
That's right.
We're going to ask the Gettys for a little kind of care like he's getting from them.
Yeah.
Or maybe we're going to show up on Trent's doorstep one day saying, oh, I don't know, well, there's not enough room in the shelter, so we think we're maybe going to stay with you tonight. How's that sound, Trent?
That's right. Yeah. Sounds like a good plan.
So the good news is we're not going to give up. The people power can win this for us. We know that Power and other organizations working with Power have won a lot of great victories for the community, and we can do it again. Am I right?
Right. Yeah.
That's right. All right, thanks very much for your time, everyone.
All right, thank you, MC, thank you. So next up, we've got a representative from SHOUT, Shelter Outreach Project of the Coalition on Homelessness. The coalition has been organizing in these shelters for years, not only around this issue, but the conditions that people face in the shelters, and have been fighting hard for many, many years. And the coalition has weighed in this fight for justice, to fight for shelter for all. Daryl's going to be representing SHOUT for us.
Seems to me we should get some.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Yeah. My name's Daryl from SHOUT Coalition. This is my second time being homeless, and I'm telling you, man, I don't even know what this nuisance is all about, but that man must be on some kind of shit, man, because with this coming into play, I'm just worried about some Latino brothers who are out there who are working and staying in shelters. They're gonna be displaced. They're gonna be thrown out. I just heard that, they're gonna be stacking GA people up like wood piles, and they're gonna turn. And you're talking about there's gonna be chaos in the street because they're gonna be throwing people out that's not even on GA or even on SSI. They're gonna be out in the street, and there's going to be a lot of chaos and everything, so, I'm just with shouting everybody is just down for it. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
All right.
Your sign is
The roof is on fire!
All right. Thank you, Daryl from SHOUT. So we're here again talking about what's happening with Proposition N, how it's being implemented, the fact that people are getting fingerprinted, forced fingerprinting into the shelters, no new services. People talked about substance abuse treatment, talked about health care, talked about all these services that people need, but yet all these services are being gutted as we speak with budget cuts in the city. On top of that, people are being forced into the shelters. Shelters are full, people are getting kicked out. Shelters should be available for everybody. They should be open for everybody. Everybody should have access to housing, right?
Hi, my name is Tina Knox. I just got kicked out for challenging a lady for protesting for a racial violation against people who are not entirely violating against what she is. And I snatched her and she snatched me. And now I'm put out up on the street as a violator. I'm a construction worker and I'm 42 years old and I just had a fucking hysterectomy. And these motherfuckers put me out on the motherfucking street. That's
All right, y'all. So that's just one example of what happens in these shelters, where you're forced to, when you check in for a bed, you have to check in your dignity, your respect, your self-respect, and these are the kinds of experience that people are having. We need to be clear about that. We need to be clear about this is the kind of care that people are getting. So let's do this little chat here, right? So I'm going to put out something. I'm going to put out something and I want y'all to respond. talking about, right?
Yes,
sir. So next up, so we're gonna introduce our next poet here. We're fired up. We're gonna bring some spoken words, speaking the truth. We've got Dharma here from the Poets.
All right.
Testimony, girlfriend, coming out.
Press it.
Thank you, well.
Press the button.
Press the button.
The button on the.
Hello?
Yeah, all right.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming out. My name is Dharma, and I'm Poet, the Poor Magazine. We have a few words here we want to speak. Prop in. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Say it again.
Believe me, if there was ever a time to step up, stand up for your rights, believe me, it is now. Prop in. Where is the care?
Not up in here.
It's only going to hurt you, and your family too. They lie. They don't care. They're only aiming to hurt you, to control you. They want to know where you are day and night. Their plan is to swim or sink. But what's real? What are you going to say? What are you going to do? Breaking down, time after time. Step up, fight. Fight for your money rights. Fight for a roof. Fight for freedom. Fight to make a choice. The choice is now.
All right.
Hello, my name is Tina Knox. I have been down with this homeless community since 1984, and I have seen the devastation that it has brought. It has brought nothing. Everybody has gotten rich. Father learned Episcopal Sanctuary, the African Community Services, all the multi-services. Everybody in Condon House has gotten riches, but the poor have stayed poor. And it's about time that the poor, who you're supposed to help, the benefit of the public community of the non-profit association of the United States of American government from the United States of Washington, D.C. should be kicked down to help these people. You have never helped these people, and you have made your pockets fat. You have walked by and laughed at and watched these people in their drug addictions, in their alcoholism, and you have never ever tried, and you have had all of your mass scans, and you have used me, and I have watched you, and I have hated you, and then you know what the norm is now? Is that today is that you need to stop. Cecil Williams.
Uh-oh.
Oh, hallelujah. Gracefully, Pierce Arrow. All of you people who have come in the name of the people and have helped the people. What have you helped? What have you helped? You have pushed them from one end of the state to the next, and none of them have been benefited. And you push me tonight, and I allowed you to push me, because I am a Rasta, and I'm standing in the name of the people, and I guarantee you that we are going down today.
That's okay. Never.
Woo! Let's hear it, let's hear it. Say your name again, sweetie. My name is Tina Renee Knox.
All right.
Right, Tina's speaking the truth here. Let's follow it up with a strong check, because she's coming with some strong words, some strong feelings. Shelter bed at 59,
Where's
that's not care, that's a crime. Shelter bed at 59, that's not care, that's a crime. Shelter bed at 59, that's not care, that's a crime. Shelter bed at 59, that's not care, that's a crime. Shelter bed at 59, that's not care, that's a crime. Shelter bed at 59,
That's not care. That's a crime.
that's right, that's right. So we're not only here to talk about the problems with this initiative. What do you need it for? You need to spend that money on something else. And thirdly, these shelters need to remain open. They need to remain open. There's a hijacking going on right now in the city, and the shelters are being closed by DHS. So we got one more speaker who's going to be talking about the 3 demands that Power has around this implementation. Ace Tafoya, he's going to be coming up and talking this a little bit next.
And peace!
He's making us wait here, make his grand entrance. Everybody give him a hand, give him a hand.
All right.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Ace Tafoya from Power and Poor Magazine. I'm kind of doing a little bit of everything. Go. And hello. I'm here to speak about the demands for Prop N. Demands for Prop N cannot count implementations. First, we demand housing, not cuts. Immediate housing for all who need it here in San Francisco. The wait list is much too long. That's unacceptable. Second, shelters. DHS is proposing a forced shelter plan for all homeless camp recipients. We demand that the shelter system remain free and open to all residents, people who really need it. That's right. Right. And third, fingerprinting images. DHS is proposing a voluntary fingerprinting scam. This may cause residents, including veterans, people with mental health issues, to not seek help or shelter. We strongly urge DHS to use this money on services we truly need. Thank you.
All right.
And I believe truly that these people have no right to do what they're doing with public benefit funds that are coming from the United States government in the name of non-profit business and putting it in your goddamn pockets, and it is fucking going to stop, because I got your motherfucking numbers on the motherfucking racket, and you better motherfucking believe it. And my name is Miss Tina Renee motherfucking Knox, bitch. All right, so we're about ready to finish up here. I want everybody to huddle up. We're spread out here. Let's head up. Everybody come close. Come close to the banner, please. I'm going to make that request. One last request to y'all. Come a little bit closer. We're not going to bite. We're not going to bite, right? We're not biting. We're barking. We're going to bite later. Y'all are the ones we need to bite, right? So come closer. We need to come a little bit closer. Okay. We're finishing up here.
Go ahead.
But look up there. This is your money that they're spending.
All right, y'all. So I think this is about as close as we're going to get, it looks like. We're going to be closing out right now. We're all here, a lot of different communities, a lot of different organizations coming together for something that's going to be destructive on our communities, right? And the reason we need to come together, we need to huddle up, is because the only way that we're going to be able to fight this and get the things we need is if we organize, if we unite and fight together, because alone, we're not very strong, but together we're very strong. We can take these fools down, and we can stop this plan, and on top of that, we can get the things that we deserve. The housing that we're talking about, the jobs that we're talking about, the services, the respect, the dignity.
Everything that we deserve as a human being.
That's right, it's a basic human right.
Spending and putting it in their own goddamn pocket.
That's right. That's right. They're stepping on our backs to make money for themselves and to make themselves look good. But are we going to let them do that? Are we going to let them do that? Are we going to let them step on our backs? Hell no. Hell no. It's up to us. This is one step. We're going to be taking it to the streets. We're going to be taking it to City Hall. We're going to be taking it to Trent Road, because we're not taking this shit anymore. We want to be clear about that, y'all. Well, thank y'all for coming out. We're going to finish up with the chants. We're going to rock this shit. We want to make sure that the people have been living in California since I was born. I am 42 years old. I have lived through the Black Panthers. I have lived through Patty Hearst. I have lived through apartheid, and I have lived through everything. If you be strong, you will survive. But if you be weak, you will fall down. Be strong, goddammit! All right. And for the people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united. Jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. All right, y'all. Thank you for coming out. We keep fighting this fight. We're going to get the things we need, but we're only going to get it if we come together, we fight together, we organize, and we take it to these fools. Thank y'all for coming out today.
How is that?
Got the little issues. Many people don't know how to deal with it. And it's just so, she's like all of them. She's like, different guys. She's like, yeah, you're sitting there interrupt.
What station is that guy?
2.
All right.
She's like, oh,
This guy's running up to his ass over the bird.
they were always over democracy elsewhere. But the show